I'll just leave that right there. I forgot I had all this stuff here. Okay, we got about 1 minute before we get started. So hope everyone is doing well this evening. This is the no, actually, I was about to say this is the first Thursday of the new year, but actually it's the second Thursday. Seems like, man, this first 7 days were a long 7 days, but you know, still here, still grateful, still moving in the right direction. So we get about a minute before everyone gets started. So what I wanted to do, if you're on this live stream right now, please just put your first name, say hello, something, just so I know that the chat is working, because hopefully this can be an interactive live stream as opposed to just me talking in front of the camera, right? I want to make sure that you got any questions, comments, concerns, or things of that nature. You'll definitely I can get those answered, especially when it comes to the concept of building relationships or networking, however you want to call it. So the time is 7 o'clock. So I have a lot to unpack, and I want to stay on time and stay on track. So welcome to the first live stream of the year, and it's a doozy, right? It's called "It's About Connections, Not Just Contacts." And the overall reason why I wanted to do this live stream is because I see people misuse or fumble the entire concept of networking, even though I don't like the word networking, or relationship building, right? Your most powerful asset, regardless of what field you're in, regardless of what you do, regardless of what your profession is, other people, right? Other people can open up doors for you, or if you mishandle these relationships, they can close them. This isn't a beginner's how to network, how to build relationship live stream. So I'm going off of the fact that since you guys are on LinkedIn, you have some sort of understanding of how to build relationships and how to network, right? My goal for this live stream is to start to shift your mind to not just thinking that relationship building is the amount of contacts you have in your phone or you have on your Facebook or even on LinkedIn, but it's how you nurture those contacts, how you connect your contacts with other contacts. It ultimately be a resource, right? I've had many heated discussions because people feel that they have a very robust network, but when they reached out to someone when they needed it fell on deaf ears. And usually it falls on deaf ears is a piece that I'm going to talk about. Actually, that's step number 5, right? And that's called the fortune is in the follow through. And fortune doesn't just necessarily mean money. It can mean job opportunities. It can mean just opening up doors. It can be connecting you with someone that if you try to do it on your own, it can take you 3 to 4 years as opposed to just a mutually beneficial person to connect you with that other person, right? I see a lot of people, including myself back in the day, misuse my relationships because I had the misconception that if I met them once, they'll always remember me. But even more importantly, anytime that I would reach out to them, if I needed something, they'll be willing to do that because that's how I operate in a sense, right? If someone says that they need help and I can, I'll do whatever I can to help them in any way, shape, or form. But now I've gotten to the point where over the past couple of years, I know for a fact that when it comes to relationships, we're all as human beings on this planet to be used, but not to be misused. And the best type of relationships is one that is mutually beneficial. And even if that beneficial, even if that mutually beneficial means, you know, they check in on you once in a while, check on your well-being, check on how you're doing, check on how your family is doing, and that check-in isn't backed up with them wanting something, right? That's why I'm in a stage now where I had to dismantle the majority of my networks because they weren't giving back what I was reciprocating. And a lot of the things that I was giving back, once again, was checking in on them, making sure that they're good. That was my lesson to learn as a human, because just because how I show up with people may not be the same way others. So a lot of that I had to take full responsibility for, not only to say, okay, I was the reason why these relationships are one-sided, but at the same time, I'm not going to move forward and continue to water dead plants, right? And I'm not sure if that's a terminology that anyone who's on this live stream has ever heard before, but the concept of watering dead plants, if you are the only one that is putting forth the time, effort, and energy into the relationship, you need to cut that relationship off immediately, because it's not giving you what you need, thus being balanced and reciprocated, right? But I'll talk about that a little bit more with this live stream, right? So, but once again, if you are on this live stream, I want to make sure that everyone can view it. I'm gonna actually go on. All right, AR, thank you for joining. Shout out to AR. I've known him for about 3-4 years, maybe even longer than that. If I remember, I met you at an event. It wasn't 1871, but General Assembly. I think it was General Assembly. Great guy, great videographer. I've worked with him in the past, just based off of the relationship that we've had with each other. Because once again, as long as you have a good relationship with someone and it's being reciprocated, it can be beneficial not only from a personal perspective but from a business perspective. So definitely shout out to AR. So what I promise, I really don't like promising things to people, right? But I should say it like this: my overall goal is to define, or excuse me, get you to the point to move from transactional contacts to a genuine community, right? I know for the past couple of years, uh, having a community, it can be monetized in a sense, right? Bringing people together under one cause, but a community doesn't necessarily always mean a group of people. A community could be, once again, mutually beneficial one-on-one relationships with someone that you become a trusted individual, a value individual, and I'll, show you some things on how you can be a more valuable individual to that contact. Not saying that you're not, but you, in order to be top of mind, you want to create some sort of reputation that you are key valuable individual, specifically on the professional side of the house, based off of what you do on a regular basis, right? One thing that I will not talk about is how people want to be famous or popular. It's a cesspool of people trying to be local celebrities now, based off of what's going on online, right? A lot of it is superficial relationships, and how it doesn't create a great foundation for you on how you can build relationships with people. Can you use being online to reinforce who you are as an individual? No doubt, because this is what I'm doing right now. But it's a cesspool of people who think that they are bigger than they actually are, and get to the point where their main thing is just getting as many followers as possible, thinking that these followers are going to turn into whatever you're trying to accomplish in your career or personal. But the best way to get people to um, draw to you is to be very valuable, and then also play your part in nurturing the overall relationship. And I'll talk about ways that you can actually nurture that relationship also, right? So let's start with this 5-point framework to go from not just having connections, having connections as opposed to just having contacts. The first thing is shift your mindset from hunting to helping. So what is the hunting piece is? Hunting, well, let me give you a scenario. If you've gone to an event, networking, business event, professional event, or whatever, there's always one or maybe even two individuals in the room that just walk up to you, say a couple of things, hand you their business card, and then they leave and they move on to the next person, as opposed to taking that time out to get to know you. And taking the time out to get to know you doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend the whole night with that person. But people know when they see somebody who's a shark, who's just trying to hand out the business cards to stir up uh, business or stir up an opportunity, aka that overall hunter. Nobody wants to be around that individual, even though you have so many people still to this day go about doing that because they look at the quantity of the people that they know in that network as opposed to quality. And a side note, the quality of the relationships that you have will always supersede the amount of people that are in your network. I give you a prime example. So I don't think she'll ever see this video, but hopefully, if she does, I have a coworker by the name of Rosie. Actually, she's now more of a friend, right? But knowing, how her overall worth ethic is, how her over mindset is, how her wisdom is. Even though I just met her maybe 2 years ago, I wouldn't trade one Rosie for 1,000 random individuals, right? Because I value the relationship that we have. It's even to the point where I've talked to her about my deceased parents. Thus, and I don't really I share a little bit, but I share a lot more just based off of the fact. And the reason being is, and I told her this like the third or fourth time that I met her, and how it happened. She got hired right after the wave of both of my parents passing away, right? And she would, when I saw her and talked to her and listened to her, she would always remind me of my mother, right? It's kind of like my mother was like, okay, Eric, I'm going to leave you, but at the same time, I'm going to bring somebody in your life that reminds you of me in so many ways, shape, or form. So I'm so grateful to, know Rosie, to work with her. Like I said, I wouldn't trade her for 1,000 random individuals. But once again, we're always also in a situation of trying to help, because we've been able to work on a couple of projects within the organization. And even though her area of expertise is accounts payable, finance, and things of that nature, which I'm horrible on, and my area of expertise is on the operations slash IT perspective, we're able to come together and fill in the gaps, right? So we are willing to help each other, take the time out, regardless of what's going on, what type of day that we're having. Hey, if she says she needs some help, I'm there and I'm going to help her based off of the fact of the type of relationship that we have. And that's something that you can clearly have with the majority of people in your network. So I'm probably hearing someone on the live right now that's particularly saying, hey, I don't have anything to offer, which is a lie. Regardless of who you are as a professional, you can offer someone in your network something. And a couple of those things could be just a listening ear. It could be a non-biased opinion, even though sometimes people really don't want to hear the truth when it comes to what's going on, but that's another story within itself. It could be you connecting someone in your network to that person. There's so many ways that you could help. So one of the key things based off of shift from hunting to helping, remove the cap that you have in your mind stating that you can't help people in your network. Because usually people say that because they didn't reach out to their network and just say, hey, is there anything that I can help you with? That is something that everyone on this live stream that can start to do right now. Actually, in the midst of that, I challenge you every single day, between 3 to 5 people in your network, just reach out to them and just ask them, hey, is there anything that you would need help on? And now's the perfect time to do it because it's still the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year is about resetting, recalibrating, creating new goals, initiatives, or whatever the case may be. So reach out to 3 to 5 individuals in your network, and you can use the messaging feature in LinkedIn or on LinkedIn to actually do that. That's something that's very easy. It's a no-brainer. And even if someone says, no, I really don't need any help, they would appreciate the fact that you actually reached out to them, and you reached out to them with a helping hand as opposed to reaching out as a hand to asking something for them, from them, in a sense, right? This is something that is a game changer. This is something that I still do, not just at the beginning of the year, but on a regular basis, because you want to make sure that your network knows that you are there to help them. And that's I don't want to say an issue, but that's an assumption that so many people, they really don't know. They may not know that you are available to help them with what they have going on. But that's why you would want to be the person that shows that initiative. Say, hey, just want to reach out, check on you, see how you're doing, see if you need any help in anything. And doing that can also restart a dialogue between you and that person, right? Because once again, networking, relationship building isn't just about taking, it's more 90% giving and offering yourself up to people, aka being used but not being misused, and 10%, asking. Now, even though that 90% has a lot of weight, that 10% that you will receive back will supersede the 90% that you push out there. But you're going to have to put forth the initiative to reach out to people and ask if you need any help. And because this is what I see people do, and it's kind of a sleaze bag way of doing it. Sometimes people just reach out with no intention to see if they can even try to help that person. So even if that's something that you don't want to do or you don't want to help anyone, don't waste your time and even initially reaching out to them to just try to make it seem like you are the type of person that you would want to reach out and help, right? So while you're in the midst of shifting from hunting to helping, the second pillar, I should say, is increasing your overall curiosity in the person. Me, that's something that I've learned maybe about 15 years ago. And even with my mindset, I'm always curious about the other person because I genuinely care about people. And if you genuinely care about people, it's not going to always be one-sided and always about you, right? But even in the midst of you're trying to turn over a new leaf, another way to build relationships with people is or develop a genuine curiosity about who they are, what they do, what excites them, what's their overall interest, because people love to talk about themselves, regardless if they're extrovert, introvert. If you give somebody the opportunity to talk about themselves, they are going to take it, especially in this day and age, because most people are just so absorbed with themselves as opposed to reaching out and asking someone certain questions about them to gain a certain curiosity about them, right? Some of the best networkers are actually the best listeners. That's why you have this narrative that extroverts are the best networkers. But in actuality, I feel that because I am an introvert, even though a lot of people don't know that, I'm an introvert. So I feel introverts are, the best networkers. Actually, if you guys are looking at this live stream, you let me know, what do you think? Are extroverts better networkers than introverts? Are introverts better networkers than extroverts? Because I'm also trying to learn also. Like, for example, my wife, she's very extroverted, right? She's very extroverted. She absorbs the energy based off of other individuals. She can talk and engage everyone in the room because that's the thing that gives her the overall energy, which is great, right? And for me, to be honest with you, I thought that was a deficit for me as opposed to this situation that I'm about to tell you right now. So with me being an introvert, I love to listen more because with me listening, it develops a great level of curiosity. So me listening, I can figure out ways that I can help them. As you can see how it can all tie back to the first two pillars. So I was at an event maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And it was this guy that he was just talk, 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 talk. He loved people. He loved talking to them. So in the midst of a 10-minute conversation, I may have gotten, you know, 15 seconds in. So, but the majority of the time I was listening. And for me, and this is what a lot of people do when it comes to going to networking events, they all getting all in their heads and they have a level of doubt to say this person may not be interested in me. I may not be able to connect with them. They may not be able to understand me. These are all misconceptions that you build up in your head. And I built up in my head in the past also, right? So after the conversation, I felt, even just based off of the conversation, because I didn't get a chance to talk as much as he did, I felt defeated. I felt like he didn't have an interest in me. This was the worst conversation at all. But then he said, you know what, Eric, this is one of the best conversations that I ever had. Thank you for listening to me. Right then and there, that was a game changer for me. So my superpower, once again, being introverted, going to a networking event, is listening. Because if I'm listening, I'm learning more about them. And once again, learning about how I can help them in the future, right? So knowing that, I feel that regardless if you're an introvert or extrovert, exercise the power of listening more than talking. You'll get your chance to talk, even if it's maybe 15 seconds or 30 seconds, but you'll get your opportunity to talk, right? And the thing is, even though people say you need to have a perfect elevator pitch and you have to prepare for that, I'm not going against that. But once again, just be yourself, because if you are concentrating on a pitch, you're going off of memory as opposed to letting the conversation flow back and forth. So I say that to say you don't need a perfect pitch, but you need a good set of questions. And those good set of questions will be based off of how curious you are with the individual, right? So you want to make sure that the questions that you ask always lead to the next part of the conversation. As an example, one of the most common questions that people ask when they're building a relationship or meeting someone for the first time. So tell me what you do. Oh, I do X, Y, and Z. So when they let you know what they do, oh, so how long have you been doing that? Right? Oh, I've been doing that for the past 5 to 10 years. Okay, so what is the biggest challenge that you've had working in this particular field, right? You always want to interject with open-ended questions that can lead to another question. Excuse me. You always want to ask an open-ended question that will forego another long answer in a sense, right? Questions like, oh yeah, so how you doing today? Oh, somebody can say, oh, I'm fine. And it can be a lot of uncomfortable dead air, right? And if you guys wanted me to do another live stream when it comes to the type of open-ended questions that you should ask, not saying you have to memorize them, but just type of open answer questions to keep the conversation going, feel free to put that in the chat, and then we could go from there. Because once again, regardless of if you're introverted, extroverted, if you are shy, if you are outgoing, you need to build relationships and you need to connect with people to help you advance just in life, right? So I talked about shifting from hunting to helping, right? The next thing was, having a grave understanding, have a grave level of curiosity for the person. The third thing is to be a bridge. And this is what I talked about previously, is maybe the best asset that you have as a professional is you able to connect one person that's in your network with the person that you are meeting, right? And don't underestimate the people that are currently in your network, right? The people that are in your network are the people that are in your network. You can always, seek out more, but don't disregard the power of the people that you already know. You don't necessarily have to have a robust group of people, have 5,000 people or 10,000 or whatever. But as you are listening and you're learning more about them, in the back of your head, think about some people that you can connect the person that you are just meeting with, and and I'll talk about this a little bit later, move forward with the action to create an introduction, right? One of my good friends, still to this day, I think of her like a sister. Her name is Boomy, and I'm not sure if Boomy would look at this because 9 times out of 10, she's probably driving home from work right now, driving home from the daycare because she has a little one. And shout out to him. One of her key superpowers was connecting. She's always done it where her and I will get into a conversation. She'll check in. We'll talk about what's what. And then based off of what I said, either I'm working on, what I'm going through, or the type of people that I'm wanting to meet, she always made it her point to connect me with someone else in her network. Was it something that she had to do? No, but just the sheer action to actually do it and to follow up and get it done, it's near and dear to me. Even though I got a lot of love for Boomy, not just based off of the fact of her making connections. She's a great person, but she always was willing to say, hey, let me put this email together with you guys, and then you can take it from there. That's something that you clearly can do. Even if you have one person in your network, could you, with this new person that you are meeting, could you put an email together or a Instagram message or a LinkedIn message or whatever, bring both of us together to have a conversation? You never know what can come from that connection, but if it wasn't for that person making the connection, maybe what transpired based off of that may have not happened, right? So that is something that you could clearly do. And when you do it, don't always feel and put the pressure on yourself that you have to make these connections. Do it out the kindness. And once again, that's another thing that most people miss when it comes to relationship building. You have to be kind, right? Because relationship building is about helping as opposed to getting. But remove the pressure for yourself. You don't have to be an expert. Hold on for 1 second. Since this is live and I'm not going to cut this out, my daughter is upstairs. So we're going to take a pause for the cause. What's up, London? Wait, come down here for a second, please. Can you come here for a second? Side note, even though she's upstairs, I'm an advocate about, education and making sure that my little one is smarter than me, right? So this is one thing that we always do is to check in. So give me 1 second. What's up? You gotta stop right there because you don't have any bottoms on. So what's going on?
I finished my homework.
You're done?
Yes. And did you have to say it on live?
I'm sorry. Hand me that sheet of paper that printout right there.
I have bottoms, by the way.
Yeah, she does. I'm not. Yeah, okay, I'm trolling. Hold on. Let me get that. Give me 1 second because this is very important. Stop right there. Mm-hmm. All right. So the daily participation, the independent book that's completed.
Oh.
What's up with these mummy movie questions?
I just finished it. I forgot to change it.
You forgot to change it?
Yeah.
Did you turn it in?
I finished it today.
Today?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Upstairs.
You put it on, but don't leave yet. Can you put it on mommy and daddy's bed? Because mommy's going to want to check that. Me too, okay?
All right. It was a good movie.
It was a good movie?
Yeah.
Wait. The Mummy? The Mummy movie?
The 1999 movie.
Oh, man. We got to talk about that. But
it was a good movie.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, you completed that. You completed your mid-year science goal. I need to sign that, right?
Yeah.
And then
I finished the 2026. I also forgot to change that.
You forgot to change that? Did you turn it in?
Dad, she gave it to us today.
I'm sorry. She gave it to us today, guys. Okay, cool. So, great job. Put that stuff on mommy and daddy's bed, and put this on the bed also so mommy can look at this also.
Wait, so you let me watch a PG-13 horror movie for the first time?
No, because we watched Transformers.
It's a horror movie still.
All right. Okay, let me get back.
It had one curse. It said the B word.
I'll talk to you about that later.
It said the B word during school.
Oh boy.
Mr. Kano didn't even did anything about that.
Oh, I gotta talk to Mr. Kano then. All right.
It wasn't bad. We didn't care.
I'll talk to you about it in a few.
Yeah. It said the B word.
This is what goes down in the horn house, which is very important. Okay. So be the bridge, right? Always be in tune with when you meet someone, think in the back of your head, who could you connect them with within your network that can help them out, right? Because when it comes to networking and relationship building, sometimes you may not be the person that actually helps them, but you could be the person that connects them to the person that could help them. Once again, at the end of the day, you don't necessarily have to be, you want your network, you want your network to be hubs of support, not just you be the main person, right? Because in life and in this world, even though you are a very important person, even though I'm a very important person, it's bigger than you and I, right? And sometimes our assignment is to be that tunnel or that hub to connect that person with someone else to do bigger things, right? You never know how things are set up in a sense, right? But so we talked about being the bridge. We talked about having a huge sense of curiosity when you are building relationships with people, and also shifting from the hunting to helping. So the next thing, and Gary Vaynerchuk talked about this, and I didn't really grasp this concept until maybe about 10 years ago. When it comes to your overall relationship, you want more depth. You want more depth than the overall width. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you have a network of 500 people. So that's a nice round number, right? Within those 500 people, how many people, if your car broke down, or better yet, from a professional realm, since we're on LinkedIn, let's say unfortunately you lose your job. Out of those 500 people, how many of those can you reach out to and get advice or get leads for opportunities? That's more depth as opposed to width. In this day and age, more people are more captivated by the number of connections that they have, aka the width, as opposed to the overall depth of the relationship. You can have 50 people in your network, but if those 50 people, you have a deep relationship with them, they'll be able to move mountains for you and create opportunities for you because they know, like, and trust you, as opposed to a random 5,000 people. Like I said, I talked about before, when it comes to individuals like AR, when it comes to individuals like Rosie and other people, I have a somewhat depth in the relationship because it's more than just an actual connection. I'm able to help them in any way, shape, or form because I want the people that have depth in the relationships with, I want them to win at all costs. So if that means me stopping what I'm doing and helping or figuring out a way how I can help them, I have no problem doing it, as opposed to a random person reaching out to me out the blue asking for help, right? And let's keep it real. If you do not water and nurture the relationships that you have, that will be the difference of someone picking up your phone call after the first ring, as opposed to letting it go to voicemail and them not calling you at all, right? That's why people and the relationship that you have with people is your most important asset. So make sure that you treat everyone within your network like the CEO, in a sense, right? And even if they are the janitor, right? It doesn't matter, because you never know, that person that's just starting out or just at a bad space right now, they can turn things around. And if you treat them with respect and help them as much as you can, and once again, we're not trying to be misused, but generally help them, that can be the difference, right? I've seen it before. I've experienced it on both sides of the coin, right? So definitely focus on not just the number of connections that you have, but the depth of these contacts, right? And one side note, one thing that you can do on a regular basis, and this is a model that I've been teaching people for years. When it comes to the people in your relationship, at the very least, reach out to them at the very least 4 times a year. And 4 times a year are during times when it's not their birthday, right? Because when reaching out to someone what's on their birthday, you don't differentiate yourself from everyone else. You can still reach out to them on their birthday because you still want to show them that love, but at least once a quarter, reach out to them during times where it's not an event or birthday or things of that nature, because that creates a cadence when it comes to the overall relationship, right? So what I want to do right now is, because I've went through the first 4 steps, what I want to do, if you guys had any, and I see the overall comments. And thank you guys for overall engaging. But if you guys who's looking on this live, had any questions, comments, concerns, what I want to do is take a pause for the cause based off of anything that I've talked about and put it in the chat, and I can answer it right now. You don't necessarily have to, but once again, have a good flow going on, have a good level of engagement. Hopefully, you guys are really taking notes and really understanding some key things that you can do to go from not just having connections to, having overall connections and not just having contacts. So let me just, as a matter of fact, how are you guys doing? I don't think I said that at the very beginning. How rude of me. I always want to make sure that people are in a great space. So I see, AR, thank you for the comments. John, and once again, congratulations, John, on your new opportunity. Actually, let me read some of the comments that I hear, right? AR said, pre-pandemic, I was a extrovert. Post-pandemic, I'm more of an ambivert. That's right? Because you have a balance of both, right? Because the pandemic snatched contact and connections, at least face-to-face connections. It snatched it from the under the floor and threw it out the window, right? From a virtual perspective, that was cool, and we found new creative ways to celebrate and connect with people. But it's one of the biggest things that the pandemic taught. It was nothing like physical connection. That was something that was near and dear to me when it came to my parents, even though thank goodness I was here and I was able to, connect with my wife and my child. But my parents, before they passed away, they were 10 minutes away from where I stay right now. And it drove me crazy knowing the fact that I couldn't, hug them. The furthest I can do is once I drove in front of their house, stay in the street and have a conversation, even though I was grateful for that. But I wanted more, right? So AR, you are exactly right. And for those that do not know what an ambivert is, it's a mesh of an introvert and an extrovert, right? Which is a good thing, right? Because you got to know when to turn the switch on to be an extrovert, and then you got to turn the switch off to be, I said that wrong. Rewind. You got to learn how to turn the switch on to be an extrovert that's engaging and talking to people and interacting with people. But then you got to learn how to dial it back and turn that off to be an introvert, to regain that overall energy. And the mixture of that is what they call a ambivert, right? So I'm looking at the chat again. And I don't see any more questions. Extroverts have the hunter mentality and can spark up the convo first, but introverts can listen better and more, so the introverts can get more info from that person while the other person does all the talking. That was spot on, AR. So I definitely appreciate that valuable wisdom. So moving on, and if you did have, like I said, another comment or a question or things of that nature while I'm still going through these points, feel free to put it in the chat, and then I'll make sure I'll go back to that. So to circle back again, we talked about how to shift from a hunting mentality to a helping mentality, understanding that you need to have a high level of curiosity when you're going from contacts to a actual connection. In some instances, you want to be the bridge. You don't necessarily have to be the expert in something, but you could be the person that connects two people together to create another opportunity, which is very beneficial. When you come to building these overall connections, you want to focus on your depth of the relationship, right? It's not just surface level. You can go very deep when it comes to an overall relationship, and the deeper that you are, the more the person would appreciate that. And then last but not least, and this is the one thing that people miss all the time when it comes to relationship building, is the follow-up and the follow-through. I guess there's a certain allure when it comes to meeting someone new, right? You go somewhere, you're having a conversation, you have this fresh interaction, the energy is high and things of that nature. And then people fail to follow up with the person to figure out what the next steps may be, right? At the very most, what someone would do is, because I see a lot of people do this, even at the event, they exchange information, they connect on LinkedIn, and then you don't hear from them again. Please do not be that individual in 2026. If you meet someone, or not if, when you meet someone, make sure that you follow up with them. Usually for me, and this is something that I can give to you, I follow up with the person no longer than 48 hours, right? 24 to 48 hours is a good time frame. And a follow-up could be just something as simple as, hey, it was great meeting you. I would love to continue the conversation that we had at the event. Please let me know your availability in the next month or so. Easy, right? Sometimes people think, and this is still something that you can do, but a lot of times people, once again, thinking that they don't have anything to offer, they should say you should only reach out to them when you have something to give, or you have an article or something interesting to share. One of the most important things that you can do to gain a relationship with someone is to connect with them. And this is the whole narrative that I've been talking about, the whole thing, to check in and to see how they're doing. But check-ins usually don't occur unless you actually do that follow-up. Don't just get caught up in, hey, I just met somebody new, and then it falls on deaf ears. You are missing out on a wide stream of opportunities, or just having the luxury of getting to know someone else, right? And that's at the very least, right? The opportunities or potential opportunities that can come from the overall following up with the person, that's key. But once again, just making that overall connection. I've seen so many people that have gotten my contact information, and it's to the point now, and I'm not trying to think that I'm better than anyone else, but at the same time, I don't want my time wasted, right? So if I'm meeting someone, and if you say, hey, I'm going to reach out to you and connect with you and this, that, and the third, and you don't do it, I'm going to look at it from the perspective that you really wasn't that interested, which is fine. But at the same time, if I've connected with someone and I've reached out to them, and if I say, hey, I'm going to reach out to you and connect with you, I'm gonna do it, right? And once again, even if it's just a LinkedIn connection with the message, that's me taking a step forward and following up. Don't be like 80% of people that have these dormant networks and they're not following up with people and not checking in with them on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, let me give you my 2-5-1 framework when it comes to relationship building. This is something that, to be fully transparent, this is not my original framework. This is a framework that I've learned maybe 10, 15 years ago, but it still stands true to this day. If I do, and I cannot remember who I learned it from, but once again, like, be honest and be transparent. This isn't something that I created. This is something that I read in a book, and I employ this right now. So the two, and this is something that you can do if you're serious about building your network and creating connections over contacts. This is something that you can do every single week to help build your overall network. So the two is meet 2 new people every week. That's not hard to do. We are living in a world of 8 billion people. So, and if you are out and about and if you are active, you can meet people, you can meet 2 new people, right? And if you are, no, even if you're shy, you can still push yourself and do it. No one is exempt from meeting 2 new people. And let me say this also, because if meeting 2 new people freaks you out, and if you want for me to do another live stream on some of the ways that you can introduce yourself and meet new people, feel free to do that. But once again, as you continue to learn how to put yourself in places where there are people that you can meet and they want to meet you, you shouldn't have a problem meeting 2 new people every single week, right? The five is check in with 5 people in your network every week. Once again, if you have a decent amount size network, this shouldn't be hard for you to do. And as I stated before, reaching out to them could be just as simple as, hey, Eric, Happy New Year. Actually, do it now, right? Because New Year is the best time to reconnect with people. Hey, Eric, Happy New Year. I hope all is well. Wanted to reach out to you to see if you needed any help with anything. Love to catch up with you to find out what's new and exciting on your end. Get back to me when you get a chance, Eric. Something on the lines of that. You can massage that language any way that you would want to, but definitely reach out to 5 people within your network and just check in with them. And a check-in could be just as simple as seeing how they are doing, right? We are living in a time where people are really going through stuff, even though they may not show it in a sense, right? So, and most people think that everything is fine until you find out that something has happened to them or they've done something to themselves, whatever the case may be. People are going through it nowadays, and they wish they may have somebody that can just ask them, hey, how are you doing? That can unlock a lot of stuff, believe you me. And you being the person that actually doing that will separate you from the majority of people that are in their network, because people nowadays just go off of what they see as opposed to being a little bit more in tune to if something is going on with someone. But the best way to unlock that is to ask them, how are they doing? And doing that can be just a simple check-in. And then last but not least, the one is face-to-face interaction with someone on a weekly basis. And that face-to-face interaction could be going to a coffee shop, going to dinner, doing lunch, going to the gym, or whatever the case may be. I've seen people meet up at libraries, right? So money isn't a factor. It's just the overall effort of, once again, meeting 2 new people every single week, checking in with 5 people weekly within your network. And as I stated before, it could just be, hey, hope all is well. Just want to check in with you to see how you are doing. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? And then last but not least, doing that one face-to-face interaction every single week, right? So it's really not that hard to do, right? It's just putting that overall effort in, right? So it's 45 minutes into this live stream, but once again, these 5 things, which I will summarize again, right? When it comes to building connections and not just contacts, aka your relationships, what you will want to do, this 5-point framework is, once again, 1, shift your mindset from a hunting mindset as opposed to hunting to meet people to more of a help. How can you be more of a helper than anything else? Because even though I've seen people reject help in some way, shape, or form, but nowadays you'll be going against the grain because most people want to get something from someone as opposed to giving. So you just initially shifting your mindset will put you in a different percentile of people. Hopefully people will gravitate towards that when you're building relationships with them. Number 2, have a high level of curiosity. What is it about the person that you want to learn? You can always learn something new when it comes to meeting someone for the first time or learning something new with someone that you've known for 3 years, 5 years, or whatever the case may be, right? The third thing is you don't necessarily have to be the subject matter expert when it comes to your profession, but you can be the bridge. You can be the connector. You can say, hey, Eric, I know AR, he's a great videographer, which he is. I know of a great videographer. I'm going to connect you guys so you can have a conversation to see if it would make sense for you guys to work together. Boom, right? You don't necessarily have to be a videographer, but if you know someone that needs one, make that overall connection. The fourth thing is when it comes to your connections, make sure you're forging depth in your connections, not just width. It really doesn't matter if you have 5,000 people within your network, if only 4 of them are deep relationships and they can help you out whenever you need it. Change that narrative where out of the 5,000, if you had only 25 that you had a deep relationship with, you're winning, right? It's about quality as opposed to quantity, even though when it comes to social media, you're deemed valuable, which is a twisted mindset in the first place. You're deemed a very valuable person based off of the amount of people that follow you, as opposed to the depth of the people that you have in your network. Change those overall narratives, right? Last but not least, you met someone, you're meeting people, you're getting into a good groove, but you fail to follow up with them. Stop doing that. The best way that you can do is follow, which I talked about before, is this 2-5-1 framework when it comes to following up with people. One was meeting people and following up. One, meet 2 new people every single week. I don't want to hear any excuses. There's tons of people, of course, in Chicago, in your city, and all over the world. Get to talking to people, start to talk to them, lead with a kind gesture in a sense, and you will be surprised how many people will want to connect, especially if you are at a networking event, right? Meeting people on the street may be a little bit more difficult, but if you are a networking event where the sole purpose is to connect with people and meet new people, there should be no excuse on why you don't meet 2 new people. Meet 2 new people, and there are a ton of networking events throughout the city, so there are no excuses. Reach out and check in with 5 new people within your network. And reaching out doesn't necessarily mean you have to have an article, you have to have a job lead. Simply lead with, I just want to check in with you to see how you're doing. Is there anything that I can help you with? You'll be surprised how simple yet how effective that is. And then last but not least, have one face-to-face interaction. And that face-to-face interaction could be in person, or if you wanted to do Zoom, that's fine also. But there should be no excuse where you shouldn't take 20 minutes or 30 minutes on a one-on-one conversation with someone to deepen that overall relationship that you have with them, right? So I know I kind of talked a lot doing this, but building your overall relationships is very important. It's the most important asset that you will have in your life. So do not misuse or mishandle these relationships. And I just gave you a 5-point framework on how you can do that, right? But before I get off, I wanted to open up the chat again to see if anybody had any questions, comments, concerns, or things. Ooh, got an echo. Questions, comments, turn that off. Questions, comments, or concerns before we get off. And actually, John, I'll do that right now. So while I'm looking for the chats, one of the projects that I've been working on quietly for the past month or so are these workbooks that I'm about to talk about right now, right? So these workbooks, and I actually have, these are the 3 that are out right now that I'll talk about. And here's a new workbook that I have that I haven't even released yet. So you guys are getting a sneak peek. But these books are part of my 90 days collection. And these books, which is the 90 days of thanks, the 90 days of grace, and the 90 days of abundance. These books are inspired by my parents, right? These books are basically, these are workbooks where for 90 days you can focus on a particular topic. For example, this book, it has 90 days where you can be every day work on your gratitude, and then also it has a prompting question where you can actually write down what you are thankful for, and it also has a daily prayer. These are the key elements that Evelyn and Eugene Horn Sr. have taught me to be the man that I am today, right? And this is something that will further push their overall legacy in a sense. And these 3 areas, and I'm going to put out more of these 90-day series because it's so much in me that my parents have taught me that I want to share with the world and hopefully help, reinsert your understanding of how grateful you should be regardless of what's going on, how thankful, excuse me, I messed up. Let me go back. How thankful you should be every single day, knowing that there's a high level of grace that you should have and understand that coincides with the thankfulness, which leads to overall abundance, right? So these are clearly dedicated to Evelyn and Eugene Horn, which are, near and dear to me. I miss them every single day, but this is a reminder of what they instilled in me, and hopefully I can instill that in other individuals, right? And then also my new baby is called Reset and Renewal, and this is the first time I've even pushed this out, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a bigger book, right? This is a 180-day journal, which focuses on areas, especially at the beginning of the year. But you can also use this in Q2, Q3, Q4, whatever the case may be. But this is an 180-day self-guided journal to help you reset in certain areas in your life. For example, it's a section for relationships. It's a section for careers. It's a section for religion. These 8 to 9 elements that people deal with every single day. But sometimes you need to actually reset on that because things happen, you get lost in the sauce. I mean, I'm not going to hit a judge, but this is a great book that I will actually start to promote next week, and I would actually start taking pre-orders next week. But the official release of this is going to be on my mother's birthday, which is January 29th. So this is something that is definitely, once again, near and dear to me, right? But these, and thank you, John, for even reminding me to push those books out, right? But I say all that to say, if you have a goal to meet more people or to, deepen the relationships that you have, I honor you. I'm rooting for you. That's a goal of mine also. One of my goals is to meet 500 new people in 2026. How that's going to happen for me, the biggest thing is to continue to show up, continue to help out as much as I can, and focus on helping the people as opposed to the quantity of people. I just set that goal because it's a stretch goal for me, right? I mean, the most people that I've met in 1 year is 100 people, but this is over 4 times more than that. But the element of figuring out if I can meet 500 people and then help them in some way, shape, or form, that will be huge for me. So doing that will consist of me going to events, doing these live streams. And if you guys had other ideas on how, as a community, we could, continue to meet or deepen the connections that we have, put it in the chat. I want this also to be a stream of ideas that we can actually use. We can empower ourselves to move forward with it. And at the end of the day, we can deepen the overall relationships that we have, right? Because you'll be surprised, knowing the right people and helping the right people, how that could potentially not only open doors for you, or how you can actually open doors for other people. It is very powerful. It is a reason why you have age-old books like How to Win Friends and Influence People and Think and Grow Rich and Masterminds and other things that help bring people together and to deepen those overall connections. It ain't just about the number of followers you have. It's not just about putting stuff out to go viral. We're thinking at a different level, right? And if you had any questions, comments, concerns, or things of that nature based off of anything that I've talked about in this live stream. Even when it comes to London, her homework, right? We want to make sure that the little one isn't smarter than me at the end of the day. Feel free to put it in the chat. Let's really keep this conversation going, right? And if you are looking at this, and if you did make it to the end of this live stream, thank you for spending this Thursday, January 8th, 2026 with me. So now I need to jump off and actually jump on another meeting before I go upstairs and check London's homework. So Happy New Year. Thank you guys for your time. I'm going to leave this live stream up, but feel free for anyone that is looking at this in the future, put in your LinkedIn link so people can actually connect with you also. Let's kind of get it going, okay? Thank you guys for your time, effort, and energy. Talk to you later.